Brittany brought her work friends over for drinks before heading to some gala. I was in my gardening clothes, dirt under my fingernails, when Stephanie looked at me with that pitying smile. Then Brittany said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is what happens when you give up on life. My mother, the retired bum." They all laughed. Todd raised his glass. "At least some of us still have ambition." They had no idea who signed their paychecks. Not yet. I stood there in my muddy sneakers, my hands still covered in soil from repotting the tomatoes. The living room felt suddenly small, crowded with their designer suits and expensive perfume. Stephanie swirled her wine and glanced around my modest ranch house like she was touring a museum of failure. "I mean, look at this place," Brittany continued, gesturing at my floral couch that I'd owned for 15 years. "Same furniture from when I was in high school. Same everything." It's like time stopped for her. Todd, a thin man with slicked hair and wire-rimmed glasses, leaned back in my recliner. "Didn't you used to work in tech or something, Mrs. Porter?" I opened my mouth, but Brittany answered for me. She had some boring programming job back in the 90s, gave it all up after the divorce. Now she just gardens and watches cooking shows. She said it with such contempt, such complete dismissal of everything I'd built. Jenna, the youngest of the group with perfectly highlighted blonde hair, tried to soften it. "Well, gardening is nice. It's very peaceful." "Peaceful is just another word for giving up," Stephanie said, and the others nodded. "Some people are fighters. Others just exist." Craig, who had barely looked up from his phone, finally spoke. "My retirement plan is aggressive growth until I'm at least 70. Can't imagine just stopping in my 50s. 60, I said quietly. "I'm 60. "See? Not even that old," Brittany said. "She could still be doing something with her life. Instead, she's this." The doorbell rang. Preston, Brittany's husband, arrived in his tailored suit, carrying his briefcase even on a Saturday. He kissed Brittany's cheek and barely glanced at me. "Ready? We need to leave in 20 minutes. "Just showing everyone where I came from," Brittany said, the cautionary tale. They all laughed again. Preston joined in, though I noticed his laugh seemed forced, practiced. He'd always been polite to me, if distant. "Married my daughter 3 years ago in a ceremony that cost more than my annual property tax." Stephanie stood, smoothing her skirt. "Well, Monday's the big day. The meeting with the owner I've been preparing for all month." "You're meeting the owner?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Finally," Stephanie said. "I've been pushing for this sale for 6 months. If I can close this deal, it'll be the biggest commission of my career." Todd stood too. "We're all part of the presentation team, going to show the potential buyers what cloud tech is really worth." Cloud tech. My company. The one I'd built from nothing 28 years ago in the garage of my first apartment. The one I'd nursed through the dot-com crash, the recession, every obstacle that tried to kill it. The one that employed 800 people across 3 states. "Sounds important," I managed. "It is," Craig said. "Some of us actually care about our careers." They filed out, Brittany last. She paused at the door, looked back at me standing there in my gardening clothes. For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or pity. But then Preston called her name, and she was gone. I stood in the empty living room, their laughter still echoing from the driveway. The tomato plant I'd been repotting sat on newspaper spread across my kitchen table, roots exposed, waiting. I walked to my home office, a small room that used to be Brittany's nursery. I kept it sparse, a desk, a computer, a filing cabinet. I unlocked the bottom drawer and pulled out a folder I hadn't opened in 6 months. Corporate documents, stock certificates, board meeting minutes. My name was on every page. Not Porter, my married name. Hartwell. Ashlyn Hartwell. My maiden name, the name I'd used to build everything. I'd stepped back 5 years ago, let a new CEO run the daily operations. I wanted to see if Brittany could make it on her own merit. She'd changed her name to Porter after the divorce, refused to use Hartwell, said she wanted her own identity. I respected that, hired her anonymously through the normal channels, watched from the shadows as she climbed to senior marketing manager. I'd been proud. She'd done it herself, without knowing who really owned the company. Now she thought I was a bum. I picked up my phone and called Gerald, My attorney for 20 years. He answered on the third ring. Ashlyn? Everything okay? I need to attend Monday's board meeting. In person. Silence. Then, that's sudden. You haven't attended in 2 years. I know, but I'm attending this one. May I ask why? I told him. All of it. The mockery, the laughter, the casual cruelty from my own daughter. His breathing got heavier as I spoke. Ashlyn, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you weeks ago. My stomach dropped. What? Stephanie has been pushing for this sale hard. Very hard. And there's a clause in the corporate structure. If the primary owner is absent from active operations for 5 years or more, the board can override ownership decisions with a supermajority vote. What are you saying? Monday's meeting isn't just a presentation to potential buyers. It's a vote on whether to proceed with the sale, with or without your approval. The room tilted. You're my attorney. You should have told me. I know. I'm sorry. I thought I could handle it quietly, make it go away. But Stephanie has 3 board members convinced. If they vote yes on Monday, you'll be forced to accept the sale or return to full-time active management immediately. Gerald, this is my company. I know, and I failed you. Come Monday. Make your presence known. It's the only way. We hung up. I sat in the dim office, watching the sun set through the window. Outside, my garden grew in neat rows. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs. Things I could control. Things that grew when you tended them. But I'd stopped tending my real garden. The one I'd planted 28 years ago. The one that employed 800 people. The one that bore my name in legal documents nobody bothered to read. And now someone was trying to steal it, while my daughter called me a bum. I opened my laptop, found the board meeting agenda, saw the names of the potential buyers, a venture capital firm known for gutting companies and selling them for parts. My hands shook as I typed an email to Martin, the CEO. Subject line: I will attend Monday's meeting in person. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I went to my closet and found the business suits I hadn't worn in 5 years. They still fit, though they smelled like cedar and mothballs. Monday morning, I would walk into that boardroom. I would show them who I really was. I just hoped it wasn't too late. Monday morning arrived with gray clouds and the threat of rain. I dressed in my best Navy suit, the one I'd worn to sign the deal that took us public 12 years ago. My hands fumbled with the pearl necklace, the clasp refusing to cooperate. I arrived at Cloud Tech headquarters at 7:30, 90 minutes before the meeting. The building gleamed with steel and glass, 8 stories of success built on code I'd written in my garage while pregnant with Brittany. I'd been sick every morning, coding every afternoon, building something that would provide for my baby. The security guard didn't recognize me. Can I help you? Ashlyn Hartwell. I'm here for the board meeting. He checked his computer, frowned. I don't see you on the list. Check again. I'm the majority shareholder. His eyes widened. Oh, yes, Mrs. Hartwell. I'll call upstairs. I rode the elevator to the 8th floor, watching the numbers climb. My reflection in the polished doors showed a 60-year-old woman trying to look powerful. I looked tired, old. The boardroom doors were already open. Martin, the CEO, stood at the head of the table in his perfectly tailored suit. He was 42, brilliant with operations, ambitious. I'd approved his hiring 4 years ago. He looked up when I entered. For a moment, he didn't recognize me either. Then his face went pale. Mrs. Hartwell. Martin. The other board members started arriving. Dorothy, the former CFO who'd retired last year, she smiled when she saw me, genuine warmth. Ashlyn. What a wonderful surprise. 3 other board members filed in, their reactions ranging from shock to nervousness. Then came Stephanie, Todd, Craig, and Jenna, dressed for their big presentation. They carried laptops and rolled in a projector screen. Stephanie saw me and stopped cold. What are you doing here? I work here. You retired. I stepped back from daily operations. I never retired. Todd whispered something to Stephanie. She shook her head sharply. Then Brittany entered, carrying a portfolio of marketing materials. She saw me and her face went through several emotions. Shock, confusion, then something harder. Mom? What is this? Sit down, Brittany. No. Seriously. What are you doing here? Martin cleared his throat. Everyone, please take your seats. We have a lot to cover this morning. Stephanie found her voice. With all due respect, Mrs. Hartwell, this is a closed meeting. The presentation team needs to focus. I sat in the chair at the far end of the table, the one marked for the primary shareholder. It had been empty for 2 years. I'm not leaving. This is my company. Your company? Brittany laughed, sharp and bitter. Since when? Since I founded it 28 years ago. Since I own 73% of it. Since my name is on the articles of incorporation. The room went completely silent. Todd's face turned red. Jenna looked like she might be sick. Craig just stared. But it was Brittany's expression that cut deepest. Not shame. Not apology. Anger. You own Cloud Tech? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted you to succeed on your own merit. Which you did. Stephanie slammed her portfolio on the table. This is unacceptable. Martin, you said the owner was absent. Uninvolved. Martin looked miserable. She has been. For 5 years. Well, I'm involved now, I said calmly. And I understand there's a proposal to sell my company without my knowledge. I'd like to hear about that. Stephanie's jaw clenched. We've been working on this for months. Months. The potential buyers are offering $400 million. The employees would benefit. The shareholders would benefit. This is good business. Good business is informing the majority shareholder before trying to sell her life's work. You abandoned it. I stepped back. There's a difference. Martin spoke carefully. Mrs. Hartwell, perhaps we should discuss this privately. No. I want to hear the presentation. Show me why you think selling Cloud Tech is the right move. Stephanie looked at Martin. He nodded. She turned on the projector, and for the next 30 minutes, she laid out the case for the sale. Strong earnings projections under new ownership. Better benefits for employees. Growth opportunities. She was polished, professional, everything I'd taught myself to be 3 decades ago. When she finished, I asked, "Who authorized you to pursue this?" The board voted to explore options. Without notifying me? Martin shifted uncomfortably. Gerald said he'd inform you. Gerald is my personal attorney, not the company's representative. He should have told me immediately. I looked around the table. I'm shutting this down. There will be no sale. Cloud Tech is not for sale now or in the foreseeable future. Stephanie's face went crimson. You can't just walk in here after 5 years and derail months of work. I can. I'm the owner. You're an absentee owner. You have no idea what this company needs anymore. I know it doesn't need to be gutted by venture capitalists. Todd stood. With all due respect, Mrs. Hartwell, you're out of touch. The market has changed. Technology has evolved. Your presence here is disruptive to the people who actually run this company. Sit down, Mr. Hayes. No, I won't. You want to know what we think? We think you're scared. Scared that someone else might do a better job than you did. Scared that selling would prove you're not as important as you think you are. The words hit like fists. I forced myself to breathe. I built this company from nothing. And now you're standing in the way of its future, Stephanie said. I looked at Martin. Did Gerald tell you about the sale before today? Yes, 3 weeks ago. And you didn't think to contact me directly? He said he would handle it. Something was wrong. Gerald had been my attorney for 20 years. He'd never kept information from me before. I want to see all correspondence about this sale. Every email, every document, every conversation. Martin hesitated. Mrs. Hartwell, I'm not sure that's necessary. I'm not asking. I'm the majority shareholder. I want full disclosure by end of day today. Stephanie laughed, cold and sharp. You're going to regret this. The board has options. What options? Martin spoke quietly. There's a clause. Article 7, Section 3 of the corporate bylaws. If the primary shareholder is absent from active operations for 5 continuous years, the board can call for an emergency vote. With a supermajority of 8 votes out of 10, they can override ownership objections on major decisions. My blood went cold. That was put in place to prevent hostile takeovers. It can be used for other purposes, including approving a sale. You're threatening me? In my own boardroom? I'm explaining the legal reality, Martin said. You stepped away. The company continued without you. If you want control, you need to be present. Actually present. full-time. I looked around the table. Dorothy looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The other board members avoided my eyes. This had been planned, coordinated. "I want to speak with Gerald." "Now." Martin pulled out his phone, dialed. "Put it on speaker." Gerald's voice filled the room, smooth and unconcerned. "Martin, is she there?" "I'm here, Gerald." A pause. "Ashlyn. Good. We should talk. You betrayed me. I protected you. You've been absent for 5 years. The board needed direction. I provided legal counsel. To them, not to me. I'm everyone's attorney in this matter. The company's interests come first. I'm the company." "No, Ashlyn, you were. But you walked away. These people kept it running. They deserve a say in its future." My hands shook. "You're fired." Gerald laughed. "You can't fire me. I'm corporate counsel, appointed by the board. Not your personal attorney in this matter." "Then who's representing my interests?" "That's your responsibility to arrange." The line went dead. I stared at the phone. 20 years of trust, and he'd been working against me. Brittany finally spoke. Her voice was cold, detached. "Maybe he's right, Mom. Maybe you did abandon this. You certainly abandoned me after the divorce. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You hid this from me. Let me work here not knowing. What was that? Some kind of test? Some sick experiment to see if I'd measure up? I wanted you to succeed on your own." "No. You wanted control. Just like always. Dad was right about you." The mention of her father, my ex-husband who'd tried to steal my company during the divorce, made my chest tight. "Don't bring him into this." "Why not?" "He said you'd do anything for control, that you valued this company more than your own family." I didn't believe him then, but look at you now. You can't stand that we don't need you anymore. "Brittany, please." "I support the sale." She looked at Stephanie. "Whatever you need from marketing to make this happen, you have it. Let's get someone in here who actually cares about this company." The vote was called. 8 board members present, including Martin. Dorothy abstained. The others voted yes. 8-1. With my vote not counting because I wasn't on the board of directors, just a shareholder. The sale would proceed unless I returned to active management within 72 hours. I stood, my legs unsteady. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is," Stephanie said. "You had your chance. You chose gardening over greatness. Now live with it." I walked out of that boardroom, down the elevator, past the security guard who now knew exactly who I was. My car sat in visitor parking because I didn't have an assigned spot anymore. I sat behind the wheel, breathing hard. 72 hours to decide, return full-time or lose everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Gerald. "We should talk. I can help you transition out gracefully." I deleted it. Then I drove home, to my small house, with my old furniture and my garden that needed watering. And I tried not to think about my daughter's face when she'd sided with them against me. Tuesday morning, I called Patricia Gaines, a corporate litigation attorney I'd met years ago at a conference. She agreed to see me immediately. Her office occupied the 20th floor of downtown's newest high-rise, all chrome and modern art. She listened to everything, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she leaned back in her leather chair. "You need to move fast. This gets worse before it gets better." "How much worse can it get?" She opened her laptop, typed quickly. "I'm pulling up your corporate accounts. You gave me permission when you called, remember?" I nodded. She clicked through screens, her expression darkening. "Ashlyn, when did you last review your personal financial statements?" "I don't know. Maybe 6 months?" "Gerald handles all that." "He handles it?" Her voice went sharp. "He has power of attorney?" "Yes. For over 10 years. It made things easier when I stepped back." She turned the laptop to face me. Numbers filled the screen. Account balances, transaction histories. My stomach dropped. "That can't be right. Your primary account shows $83,000. Your investment accounts are nearly empty. Your dividend payments from Cloud Tech have been redirected for the past 3 years." The room spun. "That's impossible. I should have over $12 million in personal funds." "You did. Look at these transactions. Small transfers, usually under $50,000, made to various accounts, all authorized by Gerald, using the power of attorney. I scrolled through the records. Hundreds of transfers. Thousands. All signed off by Gerald. Where did it go? Patricia made a phone call, spoke quietly with someone. When she hung up, her face was grim. I have a contact at Treasury. She owes me a favor. Those accounts Gerald created are shells. The money was moved through multiple transfers and withdrawn as cash advances at casinos, mostly Atlantic City, some in Vegas. Gerald gambles? Apparently heavily. And he's been using your money to cover his losses for at least 3 years. I couldn't breathe. Why didn't my accountant catch this? Who's your accountant? Gerald recommended him. I don't remember his name. Let me guess. The accountant reports to Gerald? Yes. Patricia closed the laptop. You're looking at criminal embezzlement. But here's the problem. Right now, with your assets frozen pending the corporate dispute, we can't even access what's left. And if Gerald realizes you know, he'll disappear with whatever he hasn't spent. What do I do? We file criminal charges immediately. But Ashlyn, this gets complicated. If we expose the embezzlement now, it weakens your position at CloudTech, makes you look like a victim, not a leader. The board will use it against you. So I just let him get away with it? No. We build the case quietly, gather evidence. Then we strike. But you need to be smart about timing. I left Patricia's office in a daze. $83,000. That was all I had left. I'd been living modestly not by choice, but because I'd been systematically robbed. I drove to CloudTech, determined to access company records that might show Gerald's fingerprints on the sale conspiracy. But when I swiped my security badge at the entrance, the light flashed red. Access denied. I tried again. Red again. The security guard approached, apologetic. Mrs. Hartwell, I'm sorry. Your credentials were suspended this morning. By whom? Mr. Martin. He said it was temporary, pending your status resolution. I own this company. I know, ma'am. I'm just following orders. I walked back to my car, humiliation burning through me, locked out of my own building. My phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Mrs. Hartwell? This is Judge Sandra Morton's clerk. We have a restraining order filed against you this morning. You're required to stay at least 500 feet from CloudTech premises and from Miss Stephanie Chen. What? On what grounds? Threatening behavior during yesterday's board meeting. Miss Chen felt intimidated by your presence and aggressive language. I never threatened anyone. The order is temporary, pending a hearing scheduled for next Monday. You'll receive formal notice today. She hung up. I sat in the parking lot, watching employees walk into the building, my building. And I couldn't enter. I drove to Brittany's condo in the upscale district downtown. Her car wasn't there, but Preston's Mercedes sat in the garage. I buzzed the apartment. He answered, surprised. Ashlyn? Brittany's at work. I need to talk to you. Please. He hesitated, then buzzed me up. The condo was decorated like a magazine spread. White furniture, abstract art, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. This was what success looked like to them. Visible, expensive success. Preston stood in the kitchen, still in his suit pants and dress shirt, tie loosened. What's this about? My daughter hates me. She doesn't hate you. She's confused. Preston, I need her support right now. This situation at CloudTech is bigger than she understands. He poured himself coffee, didn't offer me any. Maybe that's the problem. You kept her in the dark. Made her look foolish in front of her colleagues. Her friends. Those people aren't her friends. They're trying to steal my company. Or maybe they're trying to save it from an owner who abandoned it. The word stung. I didn't abandon anything. You've been gone for 5 years. Brittany built her career there without you. She doesn't need you sweeping in now, playing the hero. I'm not playing anything. This is my life's work. Preston set down his mug. Ashlyn, I'm going to be honest with you. Brittany asked me to file divorce papers. The floor dropped out. What? She's done. This whole situation, finding out about your ownership, feeling manipulated. She says she needs space from everyone in her life right now. That includes me. No. No. You can't let that happen. It's not my choice. She's made up her mind. Preston, you have to stop her. You love her. He looked at me, and something in his eyes went cold. Do I? Or did I marry her because it was convenient? What are you talking about? Never mind. Look, I have divorce papers here. I was going to serve them this week, but maybe we can work something out. Work what out? He walked to his briefcase, pulled out documents. Not divorce papers. Financial records. Gerald is my uncle. Did you know that? The world tilted. What? Gerald Sutherland, my mother's brother. He's been feeding me information about you for 3 years. About cloud tech. About your finances. That's how I knew Brittany was a good match. Good connections, good position, access. I backed toward the door. You used my daughter. I married your daughter. There's a difference. And now I'm telling you this because Gerald screwed me too. The money he promised me, my cut of the embezzlement, he kept it all. Disappeared into his gambling debts. So I'm left with a failing marriage and nothing to show for it. You're disgusting. Maybe. But I'm honest about it. Here's the situation, Ashlyn. If you expose Gerald and me, I destroy Brittany in the divorce. I have evidence of her insider trading on some stocks. Fake evidence, but convincing. She goes to prison, and you get to live with that guilt forever. You're blackmailing me. I'm giving you a choice. Your company or your daughter's freedom. Walk away from cloud tech. Let the sale go through, and I'll divorce Brittany quietly. No criminal charges. She moves on with her life, never knowing how badly her husband betrayed her. But if you fight this, if you go after Gerald and expose everything, I make sure Brittany pays the price. I stared at this man I'd welcomed into my family. This stranger who'd pretended to love my daughter. Why are you telling me this? Because Gerald's leaving. Flying to Costa Rica this week with what's left of your money. And I want you to know that everyone you trusted failed you. Your attorney, your son-in-law, your daughter. You're alone, Ashlyn. Completely alone. He handed me the divorce papers. Think about it. 48 hours. Then I file either way. I left that condo, took the elevator down 20 floors, walked to my car. The divorce papers sat on the passenger seat. Inside was evidence of Preston's relationship with Gerald. Bank accounts, emails, photographs of them meeting at hotels, and a detailed plan of how they'd manipulated Brittany into place at Cloud Tech, used her to gather information, positioned themselves to profit from the sale. My daughter was a pawn, and I had to choose between saving my company or protecting her from the truth that would destroy her. I drove home, sat in my driveway. The garden needed weeding. The mailbox was full. Bills I couldn't pay with my frozen accounts. And somewhere, Gerald was packing for Costa Rica with $12 million of my money. I went inside and lay on the couch. The same couch Brittany had mocked. The same house she'd called a museum of failure. And I cried for the first time in 5 years. Wednesday morning, I woke to the sound of voices outside. I looked through the blinds and saw 3 news vans parked on my street. Reporters with cameras. A woman with a microphone stood on my lawn. My phone had 17 missed calls. I checked the news on my computer. The top story on the local business page. Tech CEO in dispute with founder over company sale. But the headline wasn't the worst part. The article painted me as unstable, quoted anonymous sources saying I'd been erratic and threatening in Monday's board meeting. Described me as a reclusive former executive trying to sabotage progress. Stephanie had leaked the story. I knew her writing style, her turns of phrase. This was her work. The doorbell rang. I ignored it. It rang again. Then came the knocking. Mrs. Hartwell? I'm from Channel 7 News. We'd like your side of the story. I stayed inside, curtains drawn. But they didn't leave. More vans arrived. By noon, there were 5 news crews on my street. Neighbors came out to watch. Mrs. Patterson from next door gave an interview about how I kept to myself and seemed sad. My phone rang. Patricia, don't talk to them. Don't open your door. This is a coordinated attack. How do I stop it? You can't. You write it out. But Ashlyn, there's more. Gerald filed a lawsuit this morning. He's claiming you stole from him. That's insane. He has documents. Fake, I'm sure, but convincing. He's alleging you authorized transfers to personal accounts, and he only discovered it recently. He's suing for $8 million. and filing criminal charges with the state attorney's office. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Your assets are now frozen pending both the corporate dispute and the criminal investigation. You can't access anything. The $83,000 is gone. How am I supposed to live? Do you have family? Friends who can help? I thought of Brittany, of Preston's threat, of my small circle of acquaintances who'd already started avoiding my calls. No, I'm working pro bono for now. But Ashlyn, I need you to be strong. This is going to get worse before it gets better. She was right. That afternoon, a news crew caught me taking out my trash. I looked terrible. Unwashed hair, old jeans, no makeup. I'd been crying all morning. The reporter shoved a microphone in my face. Mrs. Hartwell, is it true you threatened employees at CloudTech? No, I never. How do you respond to allegations of embezzlement? That's not true. Gerald stole from me. So you're accusing your attorney? The man who served you faithfully for 20 years? I tried to explain, but my words came out wrong, jumbled and emotional. I sounded exactly like what they wanted, unhinged, desperate. The footage aired that night. 6 o'clock news. My face, red from crying, stammering about betrayal. The anchor's voiceover. A troubled tech founder's meltdown raises questions about her fitness to lead. The clips went viral. By Thursday morning, I was a meme. Retired bum strikes back trended on social media. People who'd never heard of CloudTech suddenly had opinions about my mental state. The bank called. My mortgage payment had bounced. With my accounts frozen, I had no way to pay. They were starting foreclosure proceedings, 30 days to vacate. My car insurance lapsed. The company sent a cancellation notice. The power company threatened disconnection. I sat at my kitchen table with bills spread out, and the math was simple. I had no money, no access to money, and no way to get money. Patricia called Thursday afternoon. I can't continue without payment. I'm sorry, Ashlyn. I've done everything I can for free, but I have a practice to run. I understand. File for bankruptcy. Protect what little you have left. She hung up. I looked around my small house. Soon I wouldn't even have this. My phone buzzed. A text from Brittany. Stop embarrassing yourself. Stop embarrassing me. I called her. She answered, her voice ice. What? Brittany, I need to explain. No, I'm done listening. Do you know what today was like? Reporters outside my building, colleagues asking if my mother is mentally ill. Stephanie had to release a statement distancing the company from your unfortunate episode. It's all lies. Gerald stole from me. Preston is working with him. Stop. Just stop. Preston warned me you'd try this. Blame everyone else for your problems. Preston is lying to you. He's my husband, the only person who's been honest with me through all this. Unlike you, who hid everything, who made me look like a fool. I was trying to protect you. No, you were controlling me, like you control everything. Well, guess what? You don't control this. Tonight, I'm giving an interview. Local news. And I'm telling them the truth about you. Brittany, please don't. You're not my mother anymore. You're just someone I used to know who's having a very public breakdown. Get help, Ashlyn. Professional help. The line went dead. That evening, I watched Brittany on the news. She sat in the CloudTech conference room, Stephanie beside her like a protective sister. The interviewer was sympathetic, gentle. This must be difficult for you, the interviewer said. Brittany nodded, tears in her eyes. Real tears. It is. Growing up, I always knew something was wrong. She was obsessed with work. Even after she stopped working, she was obsessed with not working. Everything was about her company, her success, her legacy. And you had no idea she owned CloudTech? None. She let me work there for years, never said a word. What kind of person does that? It's manipulative. It's sick. Stephanie spoke up. Brittany is one of our finest employees. She earned her position through talent and hard work. What her mother is trying to do now, destroying this company out of spite, it's heartbreaking. What do you want people to know? The interviewer asked Brittany. That I'm ashamed. Ashamed she's my mother. Ashamed of what she's become. She talks about betrayal, but she's the one who betrayed me. She betrayed this company by abandoning it. She betrayed herself by giving up on life. I just want her to stop, get help, move on. Let the rest of us live. The camera zoomed in on Brittany's face, her tears, her pain. Stephanie put her arm around Brittany's shoulders, comforting her, motherly. And I realized what I'd lost. Not just my company, not just my money, my daughter. Stephanie had taken my daughter. I turned off the television. Sat in the dark. The garden outside my window needed water. The tomatoes were dying. I didn't care anymore. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Mrs. Hartwell? An elderly man's voice. My name is Nathan. We've never met, but I worked in your IT department 15 years ago. I don't understand. I was at the coffee shop downtown today. I saw you there with your daughter. I heard what she said to you. I'd forgotten about that. This morning felt like a year ago. I'd tried one more time to meet Brittany, to explain. She'd walked out after 5 minutes, her voice loud enough for the whole shop to hear, "You're dead to me." I wanted to tell you something, Nathan continued. Back in 2008, during the recession, cloud tech was struggling. You remember? Yes. Every other tech company was doing layoffs, massive cuts. But you kept us all employed, cut your own salary to nothing, worked without pay for 6 months to make sure we could feed our families. I remembered. It had nearly bankrupted me personally, but I'd made it through. My son still works at Cloud Tech, Nathan said. He's on Todd's team, and Todd has been bragging at Sunday family dinners about some project he's working on with Stephanie. Something about fixing the accounts to look how they need to look. My heart started beating faster. What do you mean? My son, Andy. He's a good kid. Smart. He knows right from wrong. And he's been bothered by some things he's seen. Fake audit trails. Altered transaction records. He took copies. Kept them just in case. Nathan, what are you saying? I'm saying Todd has been hacking the company's financial systems, creating false records that make you look like you've been stealing, and Andy has proof. The real files, before they were changed. Why are you telling me this? Because 15 years ago, you saved my livelihood, my family. I was 50 years old, thought I'd be unemployed and broke. You kept me working. Now I want to return the favor. I can't pay you. I don't have anything left. I don't want money. I want to help. Andy is scared. If they find out he has those files, they'll destroy him, fire him, blacklist him, maybe worse. But he's willing to meet you. Tonight. If you want to fight back? I looked around my dark living room, at the bills on my table, at the news van still parked outside, waiting for me to break completely. Yes, I said. I want to fight back. Meet him at Riverside Park. 9 o'clock, east entrance. He'll have a flash drive with everything. Nathan hung up. I sat there, holding the phone, the first small spark of hope in days. But using those files meant risking Andy's career. Another person hurt by my battle. I had 3 hours to decide if I was willing to do that. I drove to Riverside Park at 8:45, taking back roads to avoid the reporters still camped outside my house. The park was quiet, lit by old-fashioned street lamps. I sat on a bench near the east entrance, waiting. At precisely 9 o'clock, a young man approached. Mid-20s, nervous, clutching a backpack. Mrs. Hartwell? Andy? He nodded, sat beside me but kept space between us. My dad said you were good people. I hope he's right. I won't use this if it puts you in danger. I'm already in danger. Todd knows I've been asking questions. He's been watching me. I think I'll be fired by next week anyway. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This is everything. The real financial records before Todd altered them. Proof that Stephanie and Gerald coordinated the fake embezzlement evidence. Email chains between Todd and an outside consultant, probably a hacker. It's all there. I took the flash drive, held it like it was made of glass. Why did they do this? The sale. If it goes through, Stephanie gets a commission of $8 million. She promised Todd $2 million for his help. They needed you out of the way, needed you to look unstable and criminal. So they manufactured the evidence. And Gerald? He's definitely stealing from you. That part's real. But Stephanie found out and used it as leverage. Told him she'd expose him, unless he helped frame you for embezzlement too. He panicked, went along with it. When does he leave for Costa Rica? Andy looked surprised. How did you know about that? Preston told me. Gerald's nephew. Right. Preston's been feeding information to Gerald about your daughter. That's how they knew when to strike, when you'd be most vulnerable. He paused. Mrs. Hartwell, I'm really sorry. About all of it. You built something good, and they're destroying it. Thank you, Andy, for your courage. He stood to leave, then stopped. There's one more thing. Brittany doesn't know about Preston's involvement. If you expose all this, it'll destroy her. Like, completely. She really loves him. I know. So what are you going to do? I looked at the flash drive in my hand. I don't know yet. He left, disappearing into the dark park. I sat there for another hour, thinking about impossible choices. At midnight, I drove to the only person I could think of who might help. Dorothy lived in a modest townhouse in the suburbs. She'd retired from Cloud Tech as CFO last year at 68, moved here to be near her grandchildren. I knocked on her door. She answered in a bathrobe, shocked to see me. Ashlyn? It's midnight. I need help. She looked at me, really looked, saw whatever desperation was written on my face. She let me in. We sat in her kitchen. I showed her the flash drive, told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her face growing more troubled. This is fraud, she said finally. Criminal fraud. I know. And you want my help to expose it? I want your advice. If I use this, innocent people get hurt. Andy could lose his career. Brittany's marriage implodes. But if I don't use it, I lose everything, and they win. Dorothy made tea. We sat in silence while the kettle boiled. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured. I voted against you in that board meeting. I want you to know that. Not because I thought you were wrong, but because I was scared. Scared of what? Stephanie is ruthless. She made it clear that anyone who didn't vote for the sale would find themselves unemployed and unhireable. I'm 68. I couldn't risk my pension, my retirement. So I abstained instead of supporting you. I'm ashamed of that. I understand. But this, she gestured at the flash drive. This changes everything. I can't stand by while they commit crimes, even if it costs me. Dorothy, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I'll call the other board members tonight, the ones who aren't corrupt. We can demand an emergency meeting, force them to look at this evidence. They'll try to discredit it. Then we go to the SEC, the FBI. We make so much noise they can't hide. She paused. But Ashlyn, you need to understand. When this comes out, everyone gets hurt. Including Brittany. Including people who were just following orders. It's going to be ugly. I know. We spent the next hour making calls. Dorothy reached 2 other board members, woke them up, told them enough to make them listen. They agreed to meet first thing in the morning. At 2 a.m., I finally left Dorothy's house. As I drove home, my phone rang. Preston. I know what you're planning, he said without preamble. How? I have friends at Cloud Tech. People who tell me things. You got evidence. You're going to use it. Yes. Then I'm filing charges against Brittany tomorrow. Insider trading. She goes to prison. Your charges are fake. Doesn't matter. The investigation alone will destroy her career, her reputation, everything. I pulled over, hands shaking. Preston, she's your wife. She's a means to an end, and the end is coming. Gerald leaves tonight, by the way. Last flight to San Jose, Costa Rica. You let this play out. He disappears with your money and you'll never see a dime. I'm not letting him go. Then Brittany pays the price. Your choice, Ashlyn. Save your company and destroy your daughter. Or let it all go, and at least she has a future. There's a third option. What's that? I destroy all of you and find a way to protect Brittany. He laughed. Good luck with that. The line went dead. I sat in my parked car, the flash drive in my pocket, feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Gerald was leaving tonight. In a few hours, he'd be gone forever with my money. I could stop him, expose everything, save Cloud Tech. And Brittany would be collateral damage. I drove to the airport, found parking, walked to the international terminal, watched the departure board. The San Jose flight was scheduled to leave at 6:15 a.m. At 4:30, I saw Gerald. He walked through the terminal in casual clothes, carrying a single rolling suitcase, looking relaxed, free. I could confront him. Make a scene. Have him arrested right here. Or I could let him go and spare Brittany the truth about her husband. I stood there, frozen, watching him approach the security checkpoint. My phone buzzed. A text from Dorothy. 3 more board members on our side. We have the votes. Emergency meeting at noon. Are you ready? I looked at Gerald. Almost through security now. Looked at my phone. Thought about Brittany, about Andy, about 800 employees who deserved better. And I made my choice. I called airport security. I need to report someone attempting to flee the country with stolen funds. Gerald was detained at the security checkpoint. His panicked face as police approached was the first satisfying moment I'd had in a week. I drove home as the sun rose. The news vans were gone, probably chasing a different story. I walked into my house, exhausted but clear-headed. At 8 a.m., Patricia called. I heard about Gerald's arrest. Did you do that? Yes. Then I'm back on your case. Pro bono until we sort this out. What you did took guts. At noon, I walked into CloudTech's boardroom for the emergency meeting. This time, I had Dorothy beside me. We had Andy's evidence. We had board support. We had the truth. Stephanie and Todd were already there, looking confident. Martin sat at the head of the table, nervous. Brittany arrived last, avoiding my eyes. Let's begin, Martin said. This meeting was called to address new allegations. Dorothy stood. I'm presenting evidence of criminal fraud committed by members of this company's leadership. She plugged in the flash drive. For the next hour, we went through everything. The fake audit trails, the coordinated embezzlement framing, the hacking, the conspiracy with Gerald. Stephanie's face went white. Todd tried to leave, but Dorothy had security at the doors. Martin looked sick. This can't be real, Stephanie said. This is fabricated. It's verified, Dorothy said. I spent all night checking. Every file, every timestamp, every transaction. It's real. You committed fraud. The SEC investigators I'd called that morning entered the room. They'd been waiting in the hall. Stephanie Chen, Todd Hayes, you're under arrest. The next 30 minutes were chaos. Lawyers arriving, security escorting Stephanie and Todd out in handcuffs. Jenna and Craig being questioned, admitting they'd known about some of it, accepting immediate termination in exchange for cooperation. And through it all, Brittany sat frozen, watching her world collapse. When the room finally cleared, it was just me, Dorothy, Martin, and Brittany. The sale is void, Martin said quietly. Obviously, I agreed. What happens now? Now I come back, full-time. We rebuild this company the right way. He nodded, defeated. I'll submit my resignation. No, you stay. But you answer to me. And we do things my way, with transparency, with integrity. He left. Dorothy excused herself. And I was alone with my daughter. Brittany finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. Preston called. He said he's leaving the country. He said our marriage was fake. He said he was working with Gerald. I know. You knew? And you didn't tell me? I tried. You wouldn't listen. She stood, paced to the window. Everything was a lie. My marriage, my friendships. Stephanie pretended to care about me. She was using me. I'm sorry. Are you? Because you won. You got your company back. You get to be right about everything. Must feel good. Brittany, I called you a retired bum. I said terrible things. And you were secretly this powerful businesswoman all along. Do you know how stupid I feel? You're not stupid. Yes, I am. Everyone knew except me. Everyone played me, including you. I never played you. I gave you space to succeed. No, you tested me, and I failed. I sided with criminals and con artists. I publicly humiliated my own mother on television. I'm a joke. She left before I could respond. I heard her heels clicking down the hallway faster and faster until she was running. I stood in the empty boardroom. I'd won. The company was mine again. The criminals were arrested. Justice prevailed. So, why did it feel like I'd lost everything that mattered? The next week moved in a blur. Gerald was denied bail, facing 8 years in federal prison. Stephanie and Todd were charged with fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. The case made national news. CloudTech stock initially plummeted, then recovered as we announced restructuring plans. I moved back into the CEO office. It felt strange after 5 years. Everything was different. New computers, new furniture, new energy. But also familiar. The view was the same. The city skyline I'd watched for 28 years. Dorothy returned as CFO. We promoted Andy to Senior IT Security Director, tripled his salary, made him a hero instead of a whistleblower. Nathan came out of retirement as an advisor, helping rebuild trust with longtime employees. The board was reconstituted. New members who valued integrity over profit margins. Martin stayed on, chastened but competent. We implemented transparency policies, whistleblower protections, ethics training. In 2 weeks, Cloud Tech was functioning again. In a month, we were thriving. Employees who'd left came back. New talent applied. The company I'd built from my garage was finally becoming what I'd always dreamed. A place where people did good work for good reasons. But Brittany wouldn't speak to me. I called every day. Voicemail, I texted. No response. I went to her condo. She wouldn't answer the door. I left notes, sent flowers, wrote letters. Nothing. Dorothy tried intervening. She needs time, Ashlyn. How much time? As much as she needs. 2 months after the arrests, I was working late when my assistant buzzed. Someone here to see you. Says it's personal. I looked up from my computer. Brittany stood in the doorway. She looked different. Thinner. Her hair was shorter. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, not the designer clothes she used to favor. Can I come in? I nodded, not trusting my voice. She sat in the chair across from my desk. We looked at each other across a space that felt like miles. I've been in therapy, she said finally. 3 times a week, trying to understand how I got so lost. You weren't lost. I was. I've been lost for years, maybe my whole life. She twisted her hands together. The therapist helped me see something. I was ashamed of you because I was ashamed of myself. What do you mean? You built this company, created something from nothing, and I just lived in your shadow, trying to prove I was good enough. When you retired, it felt like you were giving up on me too. Like if you weren't trying anymore, why should I? I never gave up on you. I know that now. But when I worked here, I felt like an imposter, waiting for someone to figure out I didn't really belong. And then Stephanie and Preston and all of them made me feel important, special. They saw me, or I thought they did. They used you. Yes. Because I wanted to be used. I wanted to matter so badly I didn't care how. Tears started falling. I said awful things to you. On television, in front of everyone. I can't take that back. Brittany. No, let me finish. Please. I need to say this. She took a shaky breath. I don't know if I can forgive you for hiding the truth from me, for testing me like that. But I also don't know if you can forgive me for what I said, for how I betrayed you. There's nothing to forgive. Yes, there is. I chose them over you. I called you names. I wished you would just disappear so I wouldn't have to be embarrassed anymore. What kind of person does that to their mother? A scared person. A hurt person. I'm so sorry. She was crying hard now. I'm so sorry. I came around the desk, knelt beside her chair. I'm sorry too, for everything. For the divorce that hurt you, for disappearing into work when you needed me, for stepping back and making you feel abandoned, for testing you instead of trusting you. She fell into my arms, and we cried together. Not healing tears, not forgiveness tears, just grief. For all the years we'd lost, all the ways we'd failed each other. When we finally pulled apart, she wiped her eyes. I don't know what happens now. Neither do I. I can't work here anymore. Being in this building, seeing all the places they manipulated me, I can't do it. I understand. I'm moving. Smaller city, different state. Starting over, completely new. My heart sank. When? Next month. I already gave notice at my apartment. Packed most of my stuff. Where? Colorado. Denver. They have good tech companies there. And mountains. I've never lived near mountains. That's far. I know, but I need distance. From this place. From everything that happened. Maybe from you too. For a while. It hurt, but I understood. Okay. Will you be angry if I go? No. I'll be sad. But not angry. She nodded. The therapist said I should ask you something. About why you really hid the ownership from me. I told you. I wanted you to succeed on your own. But that's not the whole truth, is it? I sat back in my chair, looked at this woman who used to be my little girl. No, it's not. Tell me the real reason. After the divorce, when your father tried to take everything from me, he told me I'd never be a good mother, that I cared more about this company than my own child. And part of me believed him. The words caught in my throat. So when you came to work here, I thought if you didn't know I owned it, if you succeeded without knowing, it would prove he was wrong. It would prove I could build something and still be a good mother. That's not how it works. I know that now. You can't test people into loving you. You can't hide yourself and expect others to find you. I was scared of being visible, of being judged. After the divorce, after fighting so hard to keep the company, I just wanted to be invisible for a while, and I stayed invisible for 5 years, until I forced you to be visible again. Yes, she stood. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. Maybe I never will be, but I understand you better now. That's something. It's more than I deserve. Probably. She walked to the door, paused. Mom? Thank you. For fighting back. For not giving up. A lot of people would have let them win. I couldn't do that to the 800 people who work here. I think you also couldn't do it to yourself. You finally showed up in your own life. That took courage. She left. I sat in my office for a long time after, watching the sun set over the city. 3 weeks later, I helped Brittany load her car. Boxes and suitcases, everything she owned fit in a small U-Haul trailer. She hugged Dorothy, who'd become something of a grandmother figure to her. She thanked Andy for his courage. She said goodbye to the few colleagues who'd stood by her. Then she hugged me. Tight and long. I'll call. Maybe not right away. But eventually. I'll be here. I know you will. That's new, isn't it? Me knowing you'll be there. Yes. She drove away. I stood in the parking lot watching her trailer disappear into traffic. Dorothy put her hand on my shoulder. She'll come back. Maybe. She will. Just not yet. She needs to figure out who she is without all of this. I hope she finds it. She will. She's your daughter. She's stronger than she knows. We walked back into the building. Into the company I'd built. The company I'd almost lost. The company I'd fought to keep. It felt different now. Not like a prison or a test or a monument to my ego. Just like work. Good work. Important work. But not the only thing that mattered. 1 year later, I was in my office reviewing third-quarter earnings when Dorothy knocked on my open door. Someone here to see you. I looked up. Brittany stood there, wearing hiking boots and a Colorado State University sweatshirt. Her hair was longer, pulled back in a ponytail. She looked healthy, happy, even. Surprise, she said. I stood so fast my chair rolled back. You're here. Just for the weekend. I wanted to see the place. See you. If that's okay. It's more than okay. We went to lunch at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place I never would have gone before. Too modest, too ordinary. But now I loved these places. Real food, real people, no pretense. Tell me about Denver, I said. It's good. Really good. I got a job at a smaller tech company. About 200 employees. I'm doing product development, not marketing. It's creative work. Designing actual solutions instead of selling them. That sounds perfect for you. It is. And I joined a climbing gym. Started hiking. Did you know I'm good at outdoors stuff? I never knew that. Your father used to take you camping when you were little. I don't remember that. You were 4. We went to Yosemite. You loved it. Talked about being a park ranger. She smiled. Funny how we forget things. Funny how we remember them again. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then she said, I've been thinking about what happened. All of it. The therapy helped, but mostly time helped. Distance. And what did you figure out? That we're both broken in different ways. You hide when things get hard. I perform. Neither is particularly healthy. No. But we're trying. That's something. It is. She pulled out her phone, showed me pictures. Her apartment overlooking the mountains. Her climbing gym friends. A guy named Ben who she'd been dating for 3 months. He's an engineer, quiet, kind. Nothing like Preston. He looks nice. He is. He doesn't care that I'm the daughter of a CEO. He doesn't care about status or money. He likes me because I can belay him, and I'm funny. You are funny. I know. I forgot that for a while. After lunch, she asked to tour Cloud Tech. We walked through the building together. Employees stopped us, greeted me, were introduced to Brittany. She was gracious, professional. But I noticed her hand shaking slightly when we passed the conference room where the arrests had happened. You okay? I asked. Yeah. It's just weird being here. Like visiting a crime scene where you were both victim and accomplice. You were just a victim. No. I made choices. Bad ones. I own that now. We ended up in my office. She looked around, taking it in. You changed things. A little. Got rid of some of the cold corporate stuff. Added plants. Real ones that I water myself. Like your garden at home. Yes. She sat in the chair across from my desk. The same place she'd sat a year ago when she'd apologized. I have something to tell you. My stomach dropped. What? I'm starting a foundation for people who've been victimized by workplace fraud, support groups, legal aid, job placement assistance. I'm using my settlement from Preston's fraud to fund it. Brittany, that's wonderful. It's small, just me and 2 other people right now. But it feels right, using what happened to me to help others. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too. Took a while, but I got there. She paused. I also wanted to ask you something. Would you be on the advisory board? I know it's a lot to ask, given everything, but you understand this world. You know how these predators work. I'd be honored. She smiled, really smiled. Good. Because I was going to be stubborn and insist even if you said no. You get that stubbornness from me. I know. It's one of my better traits. We talked for hours. About her new life, about the company, about family history she'd never known. How I'd started Cloud Tech with $3,000 and a laptop. How I'd written code while she slept in a playpen beside me. How I'd almost given up 100 times but kept going because of her. You never told me any of this, she said. You never asked, and I never offered. I thought doing it was enough. I didn't realize you needed to hear about it too. We're not great at communication, are we? No, but we're learning. As the afternoon turned to evening, she stood to leave. I'm flying back tomorrow morning, but I'll come back. For Thanksgiving, maybe, if you want. I want. At the elevator, she hugged me. I love you, Mom. I don't think I've said that in a really long time. I love you too. I'm still working through everything. The anger, the shame, all of it. It's not gone. I know. But I see you now. Really see you. Not the retired bum. Not the secret CEO. Just you. A person who made mistakes and fought to fix them. A person who loves her daughter even when that daughter was cruel. Always. The elevator dinged. She stepped in, waved as the doors closed. I stood in the empty hallway, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter. Something more sustainable. Peace. I went back to my office, finished my work, then drove home. The same small ranch house, though I'd updated a few things. New couch, finally, fresh paint, but still modest, still mine. In the backyard, my garden was flourishing. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs, flowers. I'd expanded it, added raised beds, a small greenhouse. Every evening, I spent an hour out here, working with soil and seeds, growing things. Dorothy called as I was watering the tomatoes. How was the visit? Good. Really good. I told you she'd come around. You were right. I usually am. It's annoying, isn't it? I laughed. Very. Listen, I'm planning a board retreat next month. Team building, strategic planning, all that. I think you should give a speech. About integrity, about building culture, about showing up. I'm not much of a speaker. You're exactly the speaker we need. Think about it. She hung up. I finished watering, sat on my back steps as the sun set. My phone buzzed. A text from Brittany. Made it to my gate. Thanks for today, really. I texted back. Thank you for coming. For trying. That's all we can do, right? Keep trying. Yes. That's all any of us can do. 3 months later, I stood at that board retreat, looking out at a room full of CloudTech employees. Leaders, managers, new hires. 200 faces watching me, waiting. I want to tell you a story, I began, about a woman who built something from nothing, then almost lost everything because she forgot the most important lesson. You can't build something real if you're not really present. I told them about the garage, the struggles, the triumph. I told them about stepping back and thinking absence was the same as trust. I told them about my daughter calling me a retired bum, about the conspiracy that nearly destroyed us, about fighting back when it would have been easier to surrender. But the real story, I said, isn't about business success or corporate fraud or legal victories. It's about showing up, actually showing up in your own life, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. I looked around the room, saw Andy, who'd risked everything to do the right thing, saw Dorothy, who'd found courage when it mattered most, saw Nathan, who'd remembered kindness from 15 years ago and returned it. This company almost died because I disappeared. It survived because people like you refused to let it. And now it's thriving because we're all here, really here. Doing the work, making the hard choices, showing up every day with integrity. I paused. Success isn't about wealth or status or titles. It's about being present in what you build. It's about standing up when it's easier to hide. It's about choosing truth even when lies would be more convenient. And it's about understanding that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong and fight to make it right. The applause was generous. Afterward, people came up to talk, to share their own stories of struggle and courage. We stayed until midnight, sitting in circles, telling truths. And I realized this was what I'd been building all along. Not just a company, a place where people could show up honestly, a place where doing right mattered more than looking good. 6 months after that, on a Saturday morning, I was in my garden when I heard a car pull up. I looked over my fence, Brittany's car, and she wasn't alone. Ben was with her. They were unloading suitcases. "Surprise," she called. "We're staying for a week, if that's okay." "It's more than okay." They came into the backyard. Ben was tall, quiet, with kind eyes. He shook my hand. "Nice to finally meet you, Mrs. Porter. Brittany talks about you all the time. Good things, I hope. Honest things, which is better." We spent that week together, cooking meals, taking walks, talking late into the night. Ben fit into our small family like he'd always been there. And Brittany seemed lighter, freer. On their last evening, we sat on the back porch watching fireflies appear as the sun set. Brittany had her head on Ben's shoulder. I was drinking coffee from my favorite chipped mug. "Mom," Brittany said, "can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Do you regret it?" "Any of it." Starting the company, the divorce, stepping back, all of it? I thought about it. Really thought. I regret the pain I caused you. I regret not being more present when you were growing up. I regret hiding instead of being honest. But not the company? No. Building CloudTech taught me everything I know about courage, failure, perseverance. It gave me purpose. It gave 800 people jobs. It created something good in the world. Even though you almost lost it? Especially because I almost lost it. Sometimes you don't know what matters until you're facing the possibility of losing it forever. Ben spoke up quietly. My dad says the same thing about my mom. He almost lost her to cancer 10 years ago. Says every day since has been a gift he didn't know to appreciate before. Exactly that, I said. Brittany sat up. I think I finally understand something. You're not a retired bum. You never were. You were just someone who forgot to show up in her own story for a while, but you came back. That's what matters. We all forget sometimes. The trick is remembering before it's too late. The next morning, I hugged them goodbye. Brittany held on longer than usual. I'll be back for Christmas. Ben too. His family is in California, but we'll come here first. I'll be here. I know. That's the whole point, isn't it? You're finally here. I watched them drive away, then went back to my garden. The tomatoes needed staking, the peppers needed harvesting, the earth needed tending, and I was here to do it. Really here. Present in my work, my home, my life. Being called a retired bum by my daughter was the worst pain I'd ever felt, but it was also the wake-up call I needed. It forced me to stop hiding, stop testing, stop waiting for life to happen while I stayed invisible. I learned that success isn't about building something impressive. It's about showing up honestly in what you build. Real victory isn't destroying your enemies. It's maintaining your integrity while refusing to surrender what matters. The company is thriving. My daughter is healing. Our relationship is rebuilding, slowly and honestly. And me? I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not testing anyone. I'm just here. In my garden, in my office, in my life. Some people might still think I'm just a 61-year-old woman who gardens and runs a company. No private jets, no mansion, no flashy lifestyle. But I know different. I know I'm someone who fought back when it mattered, who protected 800 jobs, who chose truth over comfort, who showed up when disappearing would have been easier. That's not being a bum. That's being present. And presence, I've learned, is the only success that really matters. The garden is growing. The company is strong. My daughter knows I love her. And I'm finally, truly here. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible in your own life? Have you ever hidden your light because being seen felt too risky? What did it take for you to show up again? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that it's never too late to fight for what matters, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about courage, redemption, and the power of showing up honestly in your own life. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their presence matters, that their story isn't over yet. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. May you find the courage to show up, really show up, in everything that matters to you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.